Evening, everyone. I hope your evening's going well. I wanted to get back on here tonight to go over the PowerPoint since our connection was so bad earlier. I wanted to make sure that you guys had access to this information. So I'm just going to go over the PowerPoint and give you guys this information. And tonight we were talking about Caregiver 101. What I wish I knew when I started. How to be the best caregiver you can be. So that is what we're going to be discussing tonight. And the first thing I want to say is caregiving is a privilege. It also can be an obligation or a duty for a lot of us. With being a caregiver comes joy, love, knowing that your loved one is being cared for in a loving and safe environment, and that you are the one that is providing this care. And that is where, in the beginning, or when we're thinking about becoming a caregiver, that is where most of that lies and comes from. Not to say that throughout this journey that we don't feel that, but a lot of other things starts coming into play when the duties and the tasks start getting overwhelming or getting very heavy. Our second thing is honor and pride. We take pride in being able to care for our loved ones, and we honor the fact that we're able to fulfill our loved ones' wishes, whether it's them coming to live with us or us going to live in their home where they can stay in the comfort of their home in a familiar environment. So that is something to be proud of, something that we cherish. So those are all those good feelings that we have about being a caregiver. Then we have the third thing, we have those challenges. And when we start having to deal with the reality that our loved one is no longer independent, and that whatever the sickness or illness is, we have to come to terms with that. And that's a reality. It's a reality when we're at this level that our loved one is probably never going to be back at the full 100% or full potential of what they were. Um, Not to say that they can't live the best life, and that's what we're here for, that we want to make sure that we're giving our loved ones the best care so they can live a very quality, productive, filled life for as long as they can. And then the last one that I just wanted to point out, being a caregiver, is the adjustment, coming to terms and with the reality of the loved one's condition. Making sure that we educate ourselves about our loved one's illness, and then also coming to terms if it's a terminal illness, if it's a depleting illness, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever um, it may be. My mom just had a lot of things that collided together, is how I'm going to say. And it came from an accident, and then it just went downhill from there. So just adjusting to the new norm. So I'm going to go on to, so the first and most important thing when we become a caregiver, or when we know that this task is coming upon us, is to develop a plan. And I will say this is the one thing I definitely fell short. And this is why I'm coming and saying this. These are the things that I wish I had known before I started. And I knew I was going to bring my mom home with me. I knew I was going to be the one caring for her, but I did not have a plan that I was going to execute. I did not make goals, making sure that we have short term and long term goals for myself and for my mom, whatever those are. Now, this is I definitely did was staying on top of a doctor's appointment, her prescriptions, and committing to a daily routine is what I failed. I had a routine, but it wasn't something that I established and said, we're going to do this, that, and the other. I had a daily routine by default because I was in school, I was working, and at one point, I was caring for my mother and my grandfather. And I had my nephew living with me. So I had a lot of moving pieces. So I had to have a daily routine. It wasn't that I established and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But we definitely need to make sure that we do this. Anticipate the what ifs of your loved one's condition. I will say I also fell short on that because I would get my mother had congestive heart failures. So a lot of times her body would just hold on to fluids. And so I really didn't educate myself the way I needed to. My mom was a nurse, so I was like, oh, she knows this, that. So it really was that little girl in me again. So I didn't educate myself the way I needed to. So I wasn't always prepared for those emergencies. But after about the third or fourth year, I got to that. But once again, that was 3 or 4 years down the road. But making sure that we anticipate those so we're ready for the emergencies, ready for those unexpected surprises. And the last one is what I did not do is form a team of family and friends who can help you. Um, I didn't. I felt it was my duty, and I felt it was unfair to ask my brother and his wife. My other brothers were not, my older two brothers were not in town, not around at this time. So I felt it unfair to ask my brother and sister in love to take on these tasks and duties, even when I was overwhelmed and when I was tired. I they had 3 daughters that they were caring for. So I felt like if I could change my plans, move things around, and fight through it, that's what I should do. I did ask for help, but that was when on things I couldn't take off of work or I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. So I had no option versus knowing that we're a team and knowing that my brother and my sister in law loved my mother as much as I did and wanted the best for her. Um, so it was all me. It because whenever I reached out, they were there and they were helping. I also had my other sister that when I couldn't, I would ask her for hey, can you go take mom to the doctor? And she would. And my husband, that is one of the reasons that I ended up marrying him because he really took on the role and would help me with my mom without any questions. But that was a downfall of mine is that I did not form a team, and I had one. I had a support system. I had a team, but I didn't utilize them as much as I should, and I could have. So the must-haves in a plan. You have to talk about finances and healthcare wishes of your loved one. If they are cognitively able, this is their plan. This is um, their life that we're trying to make sure it is a quality one. So if they're cognitively able, we want to make sure that we're giving them the best care that we can according to their wishes within reason. So we want to make sure that it's realistic, but we want to make sure that we're doing that, and making sure that we know what kind of care they would like, because um, I knew because we had talked to my mom previously. But sometimes some parents don't want you caring for them because they don't like the idea of their baby having to take care of them. So they may want outside. So if they may want to live in your home, but they may want a caregiver to come in throughout the day. So it's not so much so, and we need to respect that. If it's fine, if they're financially able, if you're financially able to do that, then that's what needs to be done. And establish duty and task. And that's when we're creating that team. So we're going to make sure that, hey, um, on these days, I need you to prepare meals and bring them to me because I have to work or I have to go to school. And I didn't do little simple things like that. And I had a wonderful, not just have a wonderful church family who helped me throughout. But once again, I did not utilize them as I could and should have. Um, so I definitely became overwhelmed several times without doing that. And this is when we be honest with yourself, know your limitations. And I was not honest with myself at all. Um, I will become extremely fatigued. I mentally and emotionally, and it's called caregiver fatigue, and I had it. But for the most part, I would push through and pretend I didn't have it. But when my mom would have those emergencies and go to the hospital, that's when I felt the most relief because I knew she was being cared for. I knew she was okay. And then I could rest. I could rest simply, just not have to worry, not have to just be overwhelmed. And that is that is why I am here today. That is why I am sharing this with you guys, because I know there's so many caregivers out there who did and are doing what I did. And here's a space right here, and there are resources, there are people, you have a support system. I guarantee you do. And if you don't, we will be your support system. And the last thing is making sure you summarize the plan in writing and give it to all individuals. So if it's a brother and a sister, husband and wife, whoever, give it to friends, cousins, aunties, give the plan to everyone. So that's a check and balance for each one of you. So you guys can hold each other accountable, that you said you're going to ask for help. You're going to do that. You're going, if you said, hey, I'm going to bring Sunday meals, that's what I'm going to do. There are things that people will do. I could have did that. My sister in love would have definitely prepared meals for me and my mother and said, okay, this is one task you didn't have to do. Or just simple things that we don't think about that can become overwhelming for us. The next thing is establishing new family norms. So discussing expectations, because everything is changing. This is your new normal now. Developing daily, weekly, and monthly schedules. Um, Carving out time to do things together. I said on the live stream that me and my mom, we would do Lifetime movies. We would get our popcorn, our sodas, our snacks, and that will be our time together. And also carve out individual time where she needed to be with the other family members. time where I need to do my own thing. And that's another thing that I feel short of. In 7 years, I did not carve out a lot of time for me. I did not do that. And then this is one of the most important is do temperature checks regularly, where you can check in on them, on their mental state, just and you checking in as well and having those conversations with each other when you don't feel like you're being heard, they don't feel like they're being heard. That way those unspoken, the elephant in the room, um, can be addressed, because a lot of times it's hard for us to develop this new norm, sometimes because we're so used to how life was, and we have those expectations or those hopes of it going back to that, so we tend to not have these conversations, that need to be had. So doing a temperature check regularly, making sure that, we're stating our needs, and we're stating our discomfort, with each other, so, we can be on one accord. Whew, here's a oozy doozy one, dealing with finances. So what a lot of people don't think about is extra costs with, being a caregiver. They have special diets, medical items, equipments, prescriptions, um, hospital visit, extra expenses, hired labor. Like if you do need someone to come in, clean, cook, travel expenses, going to different doctors if they have, I know for my father-in-law, at times he would have to go to Houston for, cancer treatment. So you're having lost wages when I couldn't work, and, I had to be here, and not just the, sometimes like, you only get so much FMLA paid. And then after that, if you go over that, then you have lost wages, um, before you get FMLA. And I would have lots of days that I would have to take off work because, like I said, my mom would end up in the hospital or have emergency. I just, took her at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We were there until 6, 7. We come home, but of course I'm exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically, so I can't go to work. I'm a counselor. um, I need to be at least 95%, going to work, to deal with, work issues. So here's some information that I got from AARP Public Policy Institute, valuing and invaluable the economic value of family caregiving. This is a 2008 update, and this is where so long-term care given has a significant financial consequence for caregivers, particularly women. So, um, excuse me, as I stated earlier in, the live stream is, 65%. I think it's 65, um, percent of caregiver are women. So informal caregivers personally lose about $659,139 over a lifetime. 25,494 in Social Security benefits, 6,700 to $67,202 in pensions benefit, and $566,443 in foregone wages. That is what caregivers lose in finances from becoming a caregiver. I know for myself, I depleted my savings, throughout that time, because I had to help mom with prescriptions, because she was, let's see, how old was she at this time? She hadn't turned 54 yet. I mean, she had not turned 58. She was 57. I believe that. I'm sorry. She was 53. She had not turned 54. um, because it happened April 2005. So she was 54, hadn't turned 55. I had to get my year. It was April 2004, 5. Sorry, 2005. I knew she was 54. She hadn't turned 55. Um, Caregivers face loss of income for the care recipient, loss of their own income if they reduce their hours or leave their jobs, loss of employee-based medical benefits, shrinking of savings to pay caregiving costs, and the threat of their retirement income due to fewer contributions to pensions and other retirement vehicles. So there's that. And that is also one of a major stressors for caregivers is the financial burden that being a caregiver becomes. And then once again, when you feel obligated or feel that it's your duty, a lot of times I know I did not. I hardly ever reached out to anyone, especially my brothers, every now and then, maybe. But for the most part, I did not. Once again, like I said, I felt guilty. I felt it was unfair because they were raising their daughters. So I did not feel like it was fair for me to ask these things of them. So now we come to balancing life. Caregiving can become all consuming. Many times you have to be the nurse, life coach, counselor, nutrition, and social director. All are important to ensure your loved one's mental and physical health stay healthy. At the same time, manage yours so it's not neglected. Um, yeah, that sums it up. You have to take care of yourself as well as taking care of the caregiver. I mean, the person that you're caring for. Um, and we want to make sure that their life is a quality life, and that's why we're doing it. And we want them to stay healthy mentally and physically, but we also have to stay healthy mentally and physically, and that is one of the biggest and hardest tasks of being a caregiver is balancing life. Step to balancing life. Recognize that feelings of ambivalence about your caregiver role, and it's okay. It's okay. Allow yourself to feel whatever emotions come up. Allow those. Do not push them down. I know I would do that. Like I said, I would feel guilty for feeling overwhelmed. I would feel guilty for feeling stressed. I would feel guilty um, for having to ask for help. And when I would feel overwhelmed or when I would feel distressed, and I was depressed at time, and I would not allow myself to feel those emotions. I would not ask for help. Recognize and admit that you're overwhelmed. Know your limitations goes back to that part of the plan, knowing your limitations, knowing when you have to recharge, refuel, and start again. You owe it to your loved one, but most importantly, you owe it to yourself. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle, address social needs, address that you need to get out, address that you need to go spend time with your friends, address that you need to go have a date with your husband or your wife. Um, do all those things. Address that you just need to take a trip for yourself. That's okay. Get some respite care and go take a trip for yourself. Manage nutrition. Diet is so important for your care, for the loved one that you're caring for, and for yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of your body with the intake. Definitely exercise. Get physically active, whether it's a walk, whether it is wall Pilates. Now they have just yoga, something to where you're not being sedentary and you're making sure that you're staying healthy. and establish boundaries. Once again, doing those temperature checks, making sure that that you still have a life, and that the person you caring for still has a life, and they don't get enmeshed. That sometimes when we get so close and we're spending so much time with each other, sometimes those boundaries that were established in concrete before we became under the same roof, sometimes those get a little blurry, and we don't want that. And make sure that you're watching your mental health, doing those check-ins, making sure that you have a support system that you're reaching out to, and practicing self-care. Practicing self-care, it is not selfish. It is necessary. It is necessary to do this job. And I'm calling it a job because it requires you to do so many different duties. It pulls you in so many different directions, mentally, physically, socially, financially. It is a job, and you have to take care of yourself to do this job. Um, so making sure that you know your limitations, making sure that you're taking time for yourself, whether it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, and then doing something once a week for yourself, doing something bigger once a month for yourself, going on a trip at least once every 6 months for yourself. I don't care if it's a staycation at the hotel up the street, where you're getting away and decompressing and moving away from the situation, where you can clear your mind and you can only worry about you. Because if you're going downstairs and you hear, or you go into another room and you hear your loved one is in discomfort, you're going to go and check on them when you need to be refueling. So make sure that you do something for yourself. Changes and challenges. Life is full of changes and challenges. At some point, at some point, each of us approach the fork in the road where we must decide which path we will take. Do we face the challenge and our changes, or do we give up and into our do we give up or give in to our fears and frustration? And we each, because I was there, we all get there. And we have to decide, am I going to give in to these fears and frustration, this overwhelming feeling? Or am I going to push through? We have to ask ourselves that. And it's tough at times. And I'm not saying that you don't remove yourself for a little while and do something different. Like I said, that's when we have to make sure that we're maintaining self-care, because we're going to get frustrated. We're going to be overwhelmed, and all of that's okay. All of that's okay. But we will not give in to those fears. We will not give in to that frustration, because we can do it. Philippians 4:13 tells us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, who gives me strength. I can do it. You can do it. I believe we have to maintain our spirituality as well, whatever that is for you. This is mine. Like I said, my church family was there for me. God was there for me. Through those 7 years, He was there for my mom. And He's been there these years after she's been gone. So I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And yes, I got weak. Yes. Yes, there was many days I was overwhelmed. There was many days I wanted to scream, shout, and yell. And I would reach out to friends and do that. But I didn't do enough of breaking away. I did a lot of talking. I was good at that. But I was not good at removing myself and giving myself time, space to heal from some of the stuff I was dealing with, to release some of the stuff I needed to, the stress, and to refuel. So let's make sure that we do that. This is a marathon. You, a marathon runner, must pace his or herself and conserve energy for the whole race. This is a marathon. It will take pacing ourselves and determination. We will not quit. You got this. I thank you. Please, once you see this video, let me know how I can um, give you more information, how I can assist you, because this is what this platform is for. This is why we are doing this. I am the caregiver support lead, and I am here. I thank you for your time. Please reach out. Let me know if you have any questions. Y'all have a good night.